Okay, so we ended the first graphics presentation with this exploded view. And so I have a list of things that would be in the second graphics. I'm going to go through each one of those now. Before we do, I want to review with you how to put material on any of these elements. And so let's just say that you have a floor and you'd like to put some kind of material on that floor. You can either select it here or you can go to the first floor plan and select it, and I'll show you how to select that after I change this one. So I'm going to select the floor here. You see how this is the floor generic 12-inch? So it doesn't have a material on it yet. I can pick edit type, and then under structure I can pick edit, and this is for walls and roofs. And here's the makeup, the assembly of it, and there's the material. I can pick by category right here and click on that little, you see how there's a little icon that has 3 little dots. You can pick that to get to this material browser. If you see what you'd like to use in this browser, which is the actual materials that are inside this um, this drawing, then you can use it here. So let's just say, and I'll change it again, let's just say that we want to use carpet. I'm going to double click on carpet. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK and OK again. And when I click in space right there, we've got red carpet on the entire floor. We can use split face that we looked at in one of the other videos to split the face of the floor to change the flooring, or you can just draw different flooring sections, boundaries, and change the material on those. I think split face works a little bit better. You can go back and look at that when we looked at walls. Okay, the other thing you can do, I'm going to go ahead and click this again and go to edit type, is change it a different way. Let's say edit type. We're going to go ahead and click on structure edit. So I clicked on the floor, I click on edit type. I'm going to click on edit next to structure. Same thing. I'm going to go in here under material and click on it, and then click on that little icon with the 3 little dots. Let's say I don't see what I want in here. I'd like something else, bamboo floor or something that's not in here. So you click on this little gray ball icon at the bottom to create a material right here, create new material. And there's your new material right there, default new material. Right click and rename it. Rename it, I don't, my flooring, but it could be the name of the flooring that you'd like to load, or sometimes I do it based on projects. Like when I did the project for Habitat for Humanity, I used that as my name for it. So anyways, this is my flooring. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon next to the gray ball, the one that's white with the blue strip there. And that opens up this asset browser. At this point, we can look at the appearance library because we're not really doing a lot of physical assets in this class. But if we had solar studies that we were working with, the solar energy studies, we were running this file through, we could give it physical properties to figure out the R value and a lot of really other cool things. But right now, appearance library, we'll go to flooring and look at all these different flooring types, whatever you'd like to use. I just thought I'd come in here and I'll go ahead and pick one. That's the hard part, is deciding on what flooring you'd like to use. So many choices. All right, I'll just go with bamboo. Why not? Just see what it looks like. This is a fairly new style for us. You can double click on it, and it doesn't look like anything's happened, but if you move this over, you can see right there. When you double click, it actually puts it over here in the other part of this material browser. So now it's loaded. When you double click on it, I can go ahead and close out of my asset browser. And there it is. There's my flooring. I'm picking this as the one I want for that floor. I'll pick OK. It's under my flooring right there. I'll pick OK and OK. And when I click in space there, you can see that it's changed to my flooring. Okay, the other way that you can do that is to go to the first floor plan, and just want to remind you that if you put your pointer close to the edge where several objects are, and then you press and let go of the tab key, you see how I'm cycling through all the different things until I see that it says floors on my little tooltip, and then I can click. And that's another way of selecting the floors. A third way I just want to show you here is that if I hold my left mouse button down and drag my mouse across everything and select everything, there is a filter up here, a little like funnel icon. If I click that and then I pick check none, and then I select the floors, because I have to do this when um, the file gets really busy and there's a lot happening. I just want that one thing. I'll pick OK. And now my floor is also selected, and I'll be able to move forward to change the material over here. Okay, just wanted to point out to you, I'm just going to click off it, that's another way of selecting those things. All right, let's pick one of your best elevations. So remember, when you're in the floor plan, I noticed this. We have those elevation markers. We turned off the elevation markers because we didn't want them in our drawing when we set up our sheets. So if we type in VG, just want to show you this, type in VG in the first floor plan, go to annotation category. This is a good thing for you to remember, is that we basically use model category and annotation category. Unless we import like a CAD file, then we're going to have these other import families tab to use. So model, annotation, we're going to annotation. If you scroll down, you should see here elevations. And because we turned those off, maybe yours are already on, you can put the check mark here in elevations and pick OK. And now when I roll my mouse back, there they are, the 4 elevations. I noticed that in a couple of drawings, these elevations were not dragged out, and this was like inside the drawing, and then you wouldn't get a very good, building elevation. So you need to be able to select that and pull it away from your building if it's too big. So now I know I can go over to one of my elevations. That's what I'd like you to do. Go to the north elevation. I'd like to show you how to change some of the graphics here. We already said that you could, in this one elevation called north elevation, you do have kind of these levels set up as well. In fact, you could click right on one of those and see that little ball right there that's between the name and the main elevation marker. You can hold your left mouse button down there and drag that over to make it look a little bit better. Depends. When we get the ground in here and some trees, you may have to move it around again. Okay, so now I'm going to go down to this icon at the bottom left corner. It looks like a 3D model box right there. And let's just make it realistic for now. Realistic. Realistic view we used where you can see the materials, you can see the fascia board that we put up there. But now let's go back to that same icon and go up to graphic display options. Under graphic display options, we already looked at using shadows. Let's take a look at using sketchy lines. So if you click on sketchy lines there and you enable sketchy lines, these two right here control the jitter. Like how much do you want it to look like a hand drawing? Like how much jitter is in it. And then the extension is how far it's going to go beyond the corners, at the corners, because right now it's like a perfect corner. So let's just hold your left mouse button down and pick up this slide bar right here and put it all the way over to 10. 10 for the jitter and the extension. And let's just take a look, pick OK, and you see this is like the most that you can make it look like a hand sketch. It looks like a hand sketch. So play around with that. Leave that there. This is one of the tools that I wanted to show you. Another tool to be able to make it look like a hand sketch. Okay, let's go to the 3D view. We can change this to hidden line. So right here, instead of it being realistic, we'll go to hidden line. And remember, you can hold your shift key down in the wheel of your mouse to orbit. It's kind of a good way to orbit around. But let's go back and take a look at a new tool. Down here under visual styles right there, we can pick graphic display options. And then transparency. Transparency is great because if you, instead of using this hidden view, if you use 2D wireframe, you could see through the whole thing. But if you change the transparency to about half, so hold that little slide bar and drag it across, make it like 50% or 49 I have, and then pick apply. You see how you can still kind of see your objects and have visually this view that's transparent, so you can slide it down a little bit more and be able to see through it, but still have your objects in view. And I like to work with this transparency on so that you can see what you're doing. Let's go ahead and pick OK. Now when you shift with your wheel of your mouse, you can kind of orbit around and really see inside that shape. Okay, let's take a look at rendering. Well, we want to duplicate this view so that we can use a different 3D view for rendering. We can right-click on the 3D view and go to Duplicate View. Let's just pick it up with the detailing. I usually just go ahead and use it with the detailing, which means that it's going to pick up any text or annotation that we might have had. The 3D copy right here, we're going to right click and rename that to rendering, all caps, rendering. And you can rename that later if you decide to use it for your sheets, right? Now that we're in that rendering view, why don't we take the transparency off? So click on that little icon down at the bottom left, pick graphic display options, and just take the transparency right off. Let's go back to 0 for transparency, pick apply and OK. All right. So we do have a few more things to put in here, but I know students are asking me about rendering, so we can take a look at it here. I was going to look at it also in the interior elevation, so I'll look at it here with you to introduce it, and then we'll go back to that camera view once we get the lights and everything inside. Okay, I'm going to show you the basics of rendering, and then we'll pick up a few more things for the camera view when we add lights. So the rendering icon is down at the bottom. It looks like a little teapot at the bottom left. Let's go ahead and click on that. This is the rendering dialog box. It'll end up way up there. Now, if you want to render the whole thing, then you just keep the check mark out of region. But if you just wanted a small region of it, because maybe your laptop is really slow, you can put a check mark in region. And then here's this red line that kind of gives you the ability to crop it. So you're cropping it before you run a test rendering. It's like a test rendering, to be honest, so that you're not rendering the whole thing. Now, my laptop can handle something small like this, but everyone has different laptops. If I had a lot of trees and a lot of vehicles in there, like cars and this and that, I think it would be a little bit slower. Also, you can change your setting of the quality. Usually medium is pretty good for checking it out, but when you're ready, you can go to, highest and best and work with better quality of views. Also, do you want to see what it looks like on the screen, or do you want to actually print it? Because if you're printing it, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll need to change the settings so that it can print a better quality. So I'm going to keep it as screen, keep it basic. And then you have all these different color lighting schemes, like sun only, sun and artificial. Hey, we're outside. This is not an interior view. We don't have any artificial lights. So if you see this is based on exterior and interior. So we're just going to do sun only for now. And then go ahead and pick render. Now, when you pick render, if you want to see how long it takes, it might go really fast, but if you want to see how long it takes, you see there's a little check mark there in the bottom left corner. It might go too fast for that, for you to grab it, but see how it says close dialog when rendering is complete? If it goes too fast, don't worry about it. But if you take that check mark out of close dialog when rendering is complete, it will tell you the elapsed time right here. So it took like 9 seconds for it to do that quick rendering. You can see the quality is a lot better than the realistic. I'll go ahead and pick close. But there's so many other things that you can do in this rendering dialog box that makes it look even better. Like, for instance, under sun settings, here, click on the little icon with the 3 little dots. So the default is lighting. So the lighting is either going to come from the top right or the top left. But if you click in front of still right here, and how I got to this was I went to the rendering dialog box and I clicked under sun setting. I clicked on that little icon with the 3 little dots right there, and then I clicked on still. Here you can change your location. So you can click on that little icon with 3 little dots right there next to Boston, which is the original default. And you can put in here your locations. So Warren, Michigan, it's probably going to grab a bunch of different Warrens first. Let's just take a look. There it is right there, Warren, Michigan. I'm going to click right here on Warren, Michigan. You can use whatever location you want. And then if it's not exact, you could even put an exact address in there. But you can use your pointer. It turns into a hand and kind of pick up that little arrow there and bring it to exactly where you want to go. It didn't go to, oh, yeah, I guess it did go pretty close to it. Is there another Warren, Michigan? No. So I'm going to pick this up and bring it back over to where I need it, down here someplace. Doesn't have to be exact, but this is where you can put an address in and make it be exact right there. And you can also bring in the weather conditions from the Weather Bureau to be able to get the exact conditions under that location. Let's go ahead and pick OK. There was another thing there to use daylight savings time. And so now we have our location, and you can change the date, whatever date you'd like. Moving forward, we can come all the way. Oh, what? Or today. Here we go. We're under today. Today's date right there. And then the time. Oh, you can change the date if you're, or the time. I think it's 12 o'clock is the default. But if you go, let's say 8 a.m., that's a time when you can get a lot of shadows in the morning, and it really does make a difference if it's a summer or winter solstice. So you can kind of play around with these if you'd like to just use the defaults. And we do want to have a ground plane level, like a shadows that'll be cast there as well. So let's go ahead and pick OK, see what we have. We have to actually run it through again, so let's go ahead and pick render. We just changed the settings. So it's a matter of running it through a few times to see what you get. Here, it's too dark. Let me see that. It's like it took 8 seconds, but it's too dark for that time zone. So I have to go back and change, yeah, because it's dark in the morning, right? Okay. Let's just take a look at what that does. So you may have to take a look, change the settings a little bit to see what it is. And that's why another reason you might want to use the draft settings. You could just take this completely out and go back to lighting instead of the still, and that'll give you a specific default. I just wanted to show you these tools to give you options for location and time and the sun, sun angles. Okay, so I went back to that still one. The other thing too is that you can change the background. So you can make the background where there are a lot of clouds, little clouds, but if you go down to color and where's gradient? Gradient's not in this one. You can bring an image in. So if you have an image of a sky or landscaping, we're going to do that on one of our elevations. That's what this is here. And under, we're not going to do the image here, but just know that you can put an image underneath there. See if I do a rendering with the color in the background. There is another way of changing the background under visual graphics. Yeah, see, this is got a blue background in case you had like a base and you wanted to have a specific color for that. I'm gonna go down with maybe no clouds. That'll bring some light in. But here's another thing. Go to image adjust exposure. This is great. The adjust exposure is going to help you to make your drawing brighter or darker, and if you go too bright, it'll wash the whole thing out. But yeah, you see how it's changing. It depends on what you're rendering. Sometimes the inside is not as much as the outside, but you see how I can kind of bring the exposure value down, and I get different degrees of color. And all of these, the shadows, maybe I want the shadows to be darker. See, if I go all the way with the shadows darker, you see how the roof shadows are getting a little bit darker. So this really helps you to change the white point, the saturation. And you can see it. You don't have to render it through. If you pick apply, it'll show you what you're getting. And then you can just pick OK once you get the right look. All right, and so you can save it to the project. So this is what I'd like you to do, is to figure out, your best rendering there, whether it's the full screen or just a region, depending on your computer and how much you can take on this one. Pick Save to Project. If you pick Save to Project right there in this rendering panel, it'll be called Rendering 1. You can call it something else if you'd like, but I'd like you to keep the word rendering in there. Go ahead and pick OK, and you see how it becomes its own like view over here. So if you render it and then you like it a lot, you can save it to the project. So you can even export it. So if you click on export, if you wanted to export it as a JPEG file, you can export it as a JPEG file. So let's go ahead and pick render and see what happens. So see what the end result is and how long it takes me. 7 seconds. It looks pretty good, right? It looks pretty good. I'm going to save it to the project, and I'm going to go ahead and save it over the other one. See if it'll let me. I should. It'll let me, it'll ask me if I want to replace it. Yes. So this is like my final rendering to keep in the project. All right, so that is rendering. You can export it out as an image here that you can pull into your sheet. You can also save it. As save it to the project, or you can export it out as a JPEG. And don't forget about those images that you can adjust the exposure underneath image adjust exposure. That's a good tool to work with as well. Okay, so you close out of the rendering dialog box and you go back to your model, and you can use this for future rendering and then save it or export it into like a new view here. All right, let's go back to the north elevation. We already went down here to the visual graphics and we picked on graphic display options. We made it realistic and gave it that sketchy lines here, full out sketchy lines. And so reminded me of the background. So here I can go to background in the graphic display option and go to image. I already brought one in here, so I just want to let you know, you go to the website, find an image like countryside landscape or cityscape, wherever you want to put this, your your view. You can pick image, and then you pick custom image. And here you can pick the icon, this little button here, image, and then go find your image. So the image that I found was countryside image. It was just landscaping. And then this is where you can stretch it, or you can change the height or the width of it. I'm just going to go ahead and pick OK and see what it looks like. And then pick apply. And there's my image that's behind my drawing. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK because if you roll your wheel like closer to your object, you see how you're still zooming? You just have your image there. So you can come all the way up or back to kind of like put it where you want it to be in this drawing. The other option would be to go change, change it, change the image so that it's not stretched. You can decide on what the height of the image is going to be, and that's going to change the crop of it as well. So kind of cool. I won't spend a whole lot of time going through this part of it, but you can see that it has its advantages to to be able to set up a background for it, and that's underneath this graphic display option right here to make it look a little bit more realistic with the sketchy lines, the realistic view, and the the background right there. Let's see if I cast some shadows. We might see some in here. Yeah, you can see the shadow of the overhang right there. Ambient shadows would be more like a big light that's going to be cast over everything. It won't change it that much. You see how I just kind of made it a little bit different where it's got little shadows now. So now you have, not only do you have the cast shadows for the windows and the openings, but you have that little bit of gray that gives it that kind of softer look. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pick OK, and there is my my drawing. Let's take a look at putting ground on this and some trees and landscaping. So double click on site over here. We're going to the site view. Now yours might look different than mine. You may have to pull these elevation markers back. And so we're developing the ground. And there's another story behind this project base point and the survey base point. So there are two different base points here that you can click on and decide to right click and hide that in view that category if you didn't want those to show. But there are there's a 0, 0 for the survey and the 0, 0 for the base point of the project. Sometimes they're the same point, but sometimes they're different ones there. We're not going in that direction right there. If you have any questions, let me know. What we're going to do is turn off the roof temporarily so that we can put the ground up to the wall because the roof has an overhang. So click right on the roof, right click, go to hide in view category. So now your roof is off and now we can add the site. We'll go to massing and site, the massing and site tab. Sorry, my dogs are walking around and they're getting a drink, and I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but I may have to pause it. So I'm in the massing and site tab, and now I'm going to go under topo solid. They changed this a little bit, but it's not that different. We're going to create from a sketch right here, this first one, or that'll be the one if you click on topo solid as well. You're in a sketch mode, so we're kind of like creating the boundary for it. We'll use in the draw panel the rectangle to just create a generic rectangle that decides on the outline of your like model that it's sitting on, the base that it's sitting on. And then use the line tool in the draw panel to draw a line all the way around your building because we want, the dirt to come up to the wall there, the foundation wall, preferably here all the way around. So it's sort of like a floor in a way. You're creating the boundary that it's going to fill. And this is the default right here, this grassland. It's going to have like layers of it, but you can see that there are other things here too. Let's go ahead and pick the green check mark. And there's your ground. I'm kind of like fast forwarding it. You would have to type in VG in order to go to the model tab and scroll down to the R's to, pick up your roof if you'd like to put it back there, just in case you needed it. Put a check mark in roof and pick OK so that it's there. I like to work in the 3D view, so let's go ahead and double click in the 3D view to take a look at it. Okay, we have this transparency that's going to give us a hard time later on when we want to render or when we want to change it to realistic. So let's take that transparency off. We need to go down to the bottom left, go to graphic display options, and just slide that bar all the way over where it says transparency or change it to 0 and pick apply and pick OK. Now this is our ground, but we want to edit it. We want to edit it. And guys, if you wanted to edit the outline of it, you just double click and then it'll bring you into the sketch mode again. I'm just going to go ahead and pick the red check mark or the red X because we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to click on that ground and then add a point. So if you click add point right there, if I add a point here and then I use my escape key once to get out of adding a point and select that point, see how I can kind of like pull that up and you'll see that the ground goes up a little bit. It won't go down because it's based on starting with the base level and then going up from that level to create your ground. So that's one thing, is to add points in order to establish your topography. Another one is to add a split line. The split line will create like a little berm. So below add points, there's an add split line. I'm going to go ahead on the other side and click here, and there's my split line. If I use my escape key once, you'll see that you've got a split line. I went ahead and I don't know why it didn't show it. Hold on. It's still there. Oh, because once you place it and you use your escape key once to get out of placing more of them, you click right on the little grip there, a little whole circle, and go up a little bit. You see how it's bringing the topography up there, and it's going to bring it up here. Now, these lines represent contour lines, but they're really jagged because the default is not a lot of pixels, not a lot of lines that it makes up. But you'll see it. You'll see it once we get to the realistic and rendering views. All right, so we're modifying the topography that we placed by either adding points or adding split lines. We can also click on the corners of the ground, but if I bring it down, I'm going to get an error. I can bring it up a little bit. You see how it kind of like adds a little bit of a hill, but you see if I try to bring it down here, it'll give me an error because it wants to go up. This creating topography this way is new. It's new in the last couple of releases. It works. It's sort of like adding a floor and then giving it some volume. Or giving it contours or height. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use my escape key a couple times. There's my topography. So that's the topo solid. Let's go to site component, which is right next to it, and then just add a couple trees. I like the Japanese maple, but you can use whatever trees that you'd like. Remember, these trees are going to end up on your elevation. And they do kind of like read the landscaping. So they kind of go on whatever level that you click on. All right, so now you have, I'm going to use my escape key to get rid of that. Now you have some land, you've got some trees. If you change your view to realistic, you'll be able to see that a little bit more. You'll see the the topography of it. If it was transparent, if you had the transparency on, you wouldn't be able to see it. And then also, I just wanted to point out to you that if I needed a rendering without those lines, I'd have to go back to my rendering, my little teapot there, and pick render so that I can see it without the lines. There are some nested options to turn those lines on and off as well. Yeah, and it really depends on what type of grass that you're using and what the lighting is too. So let's take a look at the lighting. Over here, next to where you changed all of your styles right there, there's a sun path. So click on that little sun icon and pick on. And then we want to use this specific location, date, and time right there. If you roll the wheel back a little bit, what you'll see is that you've turned on the sun path. And it's very cool because it has like the compass, and it is this ball right here that represents the sun. You can hold your left mouse button down on that like sun and drag it to the different times that you want to see the shadows. In fact, you have to turn the shadows on. Right next to it is shadows on. We use that for one of our plans there. So yeah, this is not only is this showing you the different times, but you can also pull on this arch here to with the ball to change the different time of the year. So the different time and the different month. You see the different months that are changing on that side. So if you wanted it to be higher up in the summer or lower in the winter, you can get some different shades that are going on there. Specific days, and you see how the shadows are a little bit different there. Yeah. So now let's take a look. We have a little bit different shading. Now we have some lights in there. Yeah, it still looks bad. Not bad, but I mean, it still is dark, but you can work with it a little bit more to get what you need. All right. The last thing I'd like to show you is the walkthrough because the video is getting a little bit long. I just want to make sure that I get a little bit of everything for these graphics here as we finish up. So going back to the first floor, you're going to see all these things that we added are going to be now in all of the different views. So back over to the first floor plan, you have the site there because it's one model. So you have to highlight it. So click on it once and then click on it once, right click and go to hide and view category. And then you can do the same things with the trees. You can select the trees, right click, hide and view category. Right click, hide and view category. And now you're back to the floor plan. And now those things are only showing in the plans that you want them to show in. All right, so you want to do a walkthrough very quickly. We can go over to, well, it's actually under the View tab or under this house icon. Either way, that little house icon at the top gives you this walkthrough, or you can go to the View tab and go to the same place there to get to walkthrough. Now, the walkthrough, you're going to pick points along a path of where you want the camera to be placed and walk through your building. So if I stay out here and I'm going to click, and here I'm going to click, click, click. Every time you click here, you're like deciding on which way you want the view to go. Maybe I want to look that way, but then I want to come all the way over here and I want to kind of like come back and look at this and get closer and be done. And you can go all the way through. In fact, you can change the height of the camera to go up the stairs and do fly throughs, aerials. There's a lot to be said about this. So I'm going to finish it there, do kind of a quick one. I'm going to pick up here the green check mark, finish walkthrough. When I pick finish walkthrough, I have an opportunity to pick edit walkthrough right there. You'll see that it has become another view over here in the browser as well. So you have it right there as walkthrough. I took the camera away, so I'm just gonna click on walkthrough, right click and pick show camera. There it is, and edit walkthrough. So if you got out of the loop of showing the camera, you can always come over here to the walkthrough that's in the property in the project browser, right click and pick show camera, and there it is. And now I can pick, that's the path of it. You pick edit walkthrough. When you're in the edit walkthrough, before you pick open walkthrough, you'll wait for a minute and you'll see these little red dots that represent where the camera is. And so you see how I can click on previous keyframe. So each one has the location of where the camera is, and you can play it even right here in the floor plan view to see how it's kind of coming around the room there. All right, so let's go ahead. There's more to it, but like quick version, let's go to open walkthrough right there. So you opened it and now you want to play it. When you play it, you can kind of like see what the view is. You probably want to come inside here. Whoop, no, come inside here and crop this a little bit more so you can get like more of the bottom part of it. Okay, and then nope, be careful that you don't click because it'll ask you if you want to close out of it. So if you play it again, there it is, a little bit lower there. You'll have to work with it a little bit. And then I just want to show you though that you can go to the bottom right corner here under properties and get this dialog box that shows you the walkthrough frames. And if you pick you take the check mark out of uniform speed, you can slow it down a little bit by changing the accelerator for this. Like if I make this 0.1 here, it'll slow it down a little bit more. So it depends on what what your computer can do as well. So I'm gonna just slow down the first 4 or 5 frames. I'll pick apply and okay, and now when I play it, you'll see how it's going slow, a little bit slower, then fast, really fast. So that's the camera. You can make that realistic. Of course, it's going to be a little bit slower, but it's a movie, so you can go to File and down to Export. I haven't done this in a little while. Hold on. Go to Export and go down to, here it is, Images and Annotations, and then Walkthrough. So once you have the little movie and you have it just right, you've got it slowed down, you're making it look at exactly what you want. You may have a wall decal right there, an opening to another room. You can go up to File, Export, Images and Annotations, Walkthrough, and save it here. You can change a little bit about it, but even including a date stamp. And when you pick OK, you see what it's creating? It's creating an AVI file. The AVI file, you'll have some other options for different things, but as you pick OK and pick OK again, it came all the way back to the beginning, and now it's going through. So it's kind of like creating here that AVI. It's going slow. It came outside of the building. Then it went really fast. All right, so create a walkthrough. All I'm going to look for, you don't have to export it if you don't want to create an AVI file. I'm just going to look for this this rendering new part over here in the project browser to see that you worked on it and maybe run a few through. All right, good. Have fun. Of course, there's so many other things we can do with this software for graphics, but I think that will help to get you started.